I predicted that the Carolina Panthers would go 7-10 this past year, and I was really, really hopeful about the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers traded a second-round pick for quarterback Sam Darnold. He had been, I think I said, humbled to oblivion by the New York Jets previously, and I thought going to Carolina was the restart to his career that he needed. And I really believed that pairing him with Joe Brady, the young upstart offensive coordinator, the guy who I thought should deserve credit for making Joe Burrow into a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback at LSU. I thought Joe Brady and Sam Darnold together would be awesome, and Sam would prove himself to be a franchise quarterback in Carolina. I literally said, my prediction is that at the end of the year, everyone will feel confident in him and happy they have Sam on their football team. Do you feel that way? Do you feel glad that Sam Darnold's a Carolina Panther? Do you feel confident in him? Because I do not. And to me, 7-10 was going to be an average year, but I always felt like, hey, it'll be an average year, but the silver lining will be, hey, Carolina found their quarterback and they're building something. I was so hopeful. I was so full of belief in what Carolina was doing. And none of that happened. It was a painful year for the Carolina Panthers. Here is the reality of the 2021 Carolina Panthers. I walked into the year hopeful and a big believer. I loved what they were doing. I loved the direction that the organization was headed in. And Sam Darnold did not play great. He played bad. He got hurt. Joe Brady, the genius young offensive coordinator, he got fired. Boom, he's gone. And I have no idea what the future holds in Carolina. I don't. I feel tons of doubt. They went, the reality is they went 5-12, which is only 2 games worse than my prediction, but 7-10, and sure, you have a franchise quarterback, and 5-12 with whatever just happened in Carolina last year. That's vastly different. I got this one totally wrong. And it's, it's not about the win-loss record really to me as much as it is, did I get the theme of the year right? Do I have the feelings right? And I got it totally wrong, man. I still hope that Matt Rule, the Panthers head coach, can turn things around. But I've got no faith in the guy. I want him to do well, but I don't believe in him. In fact, they just fired, they fired their offensive coordinator, Joe Brady. They brought in Ben McAdoo to be their new offensive coordinator. Anybody know who Ben McAdoo is? Ben McAdoo used to be the New York Giants head coach. He was awful. Now, let's be clear. You can be a good coordinator and a bad head coach. Maybe, hey, it's Peter Principle, and Ben McAdoo is a guy who just is not really someone who should ever be a head coach, but maybe he is a good coordinator. Still, Ben McAdoo, man. The word that comes to mind when I think of Ben McAdoo is goofy. The dude is goofy. If you ever want a good laugh, Google Ben McAdoo haircut. And I'm like, this guy's back. I'm shocked. Now, a common theme for the 2021 Carolina Panthers was giving people a ton of hope and then, bam, just crushing it. Giving a glimmer. Hey, you traded for Sam Darnold. Maybe Sam Darnold will be your franchise quarterback. Nope. Hey, believe it or not, the Carolina Panthers actually started 3-0 last year. And their fan base got all excited. I remember, now I hope my memory is correct. I didn't look back at what I said in my videos, but I would imagine I remember being skeptical, and I hope that's how I really was. I remember being cautious and let's see, 3-0, but they're bad teams. I think that's what I said. I don't think I was all aboard the bandwagon. If I was wrong, let me know. But I don't think I have the courage to look back, because the reality is I want to believe that I didn't buy into the hype of the 3-0 Carolina Panthers. But I remember some Carolina Panthers fans that were like, Super Bowl, baby, let's go. And I was like, guys, the reality is they beat the Jets, the Saints, and Houston. And then they lost 4 in a row. They went from 3-0 to 3-4. And, there's a game where Sam Darnold and Carolina lost in overtime to Minnesota. Sam was 17 for 41. passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. You can't lose a game 34-28 in overtime where your quarterback has like a 48% completion percentage, something like that. Like something just awful. 17 for 41 passing. You only lose by 7 points to the Minnesota Vikings. Then you realize, we have a quarterback problem. Now, probably the highlight of the year was Week 10, where, Sam Darnold was hurt. And the Panthers made this wacky move. When Matt Rule first got hired, one of the first things he did was, Luke Kuechly left, and, he retired. Greg Olsen didn't come back, and they said, hey, Cam, we're going to let you go. Cam Newton, our franchise quarterback, long time in Carolina. Matt Rule decided to not work with Cam and let him go. And I thought at the time that was the right thing because Carolina wanted to rebuild, and Cam was better off not rebuilding. But then this year, Matt Rule and the Panthers made this weird decision to, hey, you know what? We're bored, and our quarterback situation isn't going well. Screw it. Let's bring back Cam Newton. And it was, briefly very fun. Again, this year was all about giving you brief moments of hope if you were rooting for Carolina. So Week 10, Carolina beat Arizona 34-10. And Cam Newton made his first appearance back in Carolina. And Cam is back, baby. And remember, Arizona at the time was 8-1. They were a playoff team. And Cam Newton did not start the game, but he did have 2 touchdowns coming off the bench, and it was a glimmer of hope. It was like, hey, maybe Carolina with Cam. Carolina Cam is going to make things work, and it'll be great. And then all that hope that built up in Carolina ripped up again. And you're like, because what happened after that was, by week 12, Cam was the starting quarterback. He started against Miami. He was 5 for 21 passing, 92 yards, and 2 interceptions. And he got benched in the second half for P.J. Walker. It was a weird, ugly year. And nothing is certain in Carolina. They do have to pay Sam Darnold $18 million next year. They made this bad gamble where they picked up his contract early, and they bet on the fact they would be able to make it work. And now their coordinator's gone, and they're stuck with Sam and paying him a lot of money for a quarterback who's not very good or probably going to be a backup. Now, you could also argue that Sam was, again, he was the best quarterback in Carolina last year. They were 1-4 without him. Between Sam, Cam, and P.J. Walker, Sam Darnold had the best completion percentage. And the problem is every quarterback in Carolina was bad last year. Sam Darnold was, he threw 9 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. Cam Newton had 4 touchdown passes and 5 interceptions, and P.J. Walker had 1 touchdown pass and 3 interceptions. Every single quarterback in Carolina threw more interceptions than touchdown passes. I mean, that's why Joe Brady no longer has a job as an offensive coordinator with the Carolina Panthers. Now, Cam and Sam, I love saying that. That's like my favorite thing about this. Cam and Sam, they both did run for 5 touchdowns, so they did score more, I think. But it's like, oh my gosh, it was all around a bad year. Like, even their first-round pick, corner J.C. Horn, had a good start to the year. Then he broke his foot, out for the year. I remember being very excited to watch Dan Arnold, their tight end, a receiving tight end, do well in Carolina. And then they traded him to Jacksonville for C.J. Henderson. C.J. Henderson is another young corner. He was the number 9 overall pick in 2020. It really remains to be seen whether or not C.J. Henderson will pan out in Carolina. He was not an immediate home run, but he is talented. We'll see. I'm excited to see if he can make a splash next year, become a starter, and be worthy of a number 9 overall pick a couple years later. Look, 2021 was the year that I lost all my faith in the Carolina Panthers rebuild. And I still want it to work. I still am rooting for the Panthers. I want Matt Rule, the head coach, to be successful and turn things around. He turned around Temple. He turned around Baylor. But it's proving pretty clear that turning around an NFL team is a lot different than turning around a college program. And my gosh, 2021 was a disaster of a year for Carolina. And I want good things for them, but I have a hard time believing good things are coming for the Panthers. And you know who's happy, though, by the way? Guess who's happy that Panthers The Carolina Panthers are terrible. Tom Brady loves it. Tom Brady gets to play crappy Carolina 2 times a year and dominate them just like he dominated Sam Darnold and the Jets back in the AFC East. So right now, yes, Carolina is the new Jets. So, hey, Panthers fans, take solace in that. At least somebody's glad you're terrible. It's helping Tom Brady win and make more playoff appearances. And gosh, man, my dreams were definitely crushed by the Carolina Panthers this year. I thought this was the year. They're turning things around. I love what they're doing. And wow, it's crash and burn. Just, if you're a Panthers fan, write in, let me know how you feel. But it's hard for me to feel a lot of excitement and hope for the Panthers moving forward. And let me know how you feel if you're a Panthers fan, because I'm curious. I was almost a Panthers fan. Like, I was like, yeah, let's do it. I'm on the bandwagon. No. What a painful year.